welcome again to the series of the continuous cardiac education organized by UN Mehta Institute of Cardiology and Research Center, Ahmedabad. Myself Dr. Mrugesh Prajapati, and today I am going to discuss about the transesophageal echocardiography for evaluation of mitral valve regurgitation. So objectives for today's topic is mitral valve anatomy and nomenclature, etiology and mechanism of mitral regurgitation, approach to the TE evaluation of mitral regurgitation, quantitative evaluation of MR, functional mitral regurgitation, and 3D TE. So intraoperative TE has become integral part of surgical decision making process in mitral valve surgery. It is standard of care in evaluation of MR. A thorough and systematic approach helps to define the pathology and to pinpoint the precise location of MR. Following the surgical procedure, the immediate results can be determined and further intervention can be undertaken immediately if necessary. So before jump to the TE evaluation of mitral valve, we go to the anatomy of mitral valve in briefly. So basically mitral valve is a bicuspid valve. It has two leaflets named anterior mitral leaflet and posterior mitral leaflet. Anterior mitral leaflet covers 2/3 of the surface area of the valve and 1/3 of the circumference of the valve, while posterior mitral leaflet covers 2/3 of the circumference of the valve and 1/3 of the total surface area of the valve. These leaflets join at anterolateral and posteromedial commissures. The mitral annulus is a fibromuscular structure which is saddle shaped and it reduces in diameter during systole. The leaflets attach to two papillae muscles, anterolateral and posteromedial, through chordae tendineae. There are three types of chordae tendineae. First order or primary chordae are that those are attached to the edge of the leaflets. The second order or secondary chordae attached to the body of the leaflet, and third order or tertiary chordae attached to the base of the posterior leaflets. Now nomenclature. So three types of nomenclature has been described in literature. The first one is classic anatomic nomenclature of mitral valve, in which the the posterior leaflet is divided into three parts: anterolateral, middle, and posteromedial, where anterolateral is closest to the left atrial appendage. Here, no any segment has been described to the anterior leaflet. In the most commonly used nomenclature is Carpentier nomenclature, where the posterior leaflet has been divided into three scallops: P1, P2 and P3, where P1 is closest to the left atrial appendage, and the segment of the anterior leaflet has been given name according to their opposite side of the posterior leaflet scallop, like P1, A1, A2 and A3. The third nomenclature is Duran nomenclature, where posterior leaflet is divided into the P1, middle and P2 part. The middle part has further been divided into the PM1 and PM2. Here the anterior leaflet is divided into two parts only, A1 and A2. The commissural part has also been given name C1 and C2. The beauty of this nomenclature is that the part of the mitral valve attached to the anterolateral papillae muscle has been given number 1, and part of mitral valve attached to the posteromedial papillae muscle has been given number 2. Now look at the etiology and pathophysiological mechanism for MR. So the most widely used classification for MR is given by Carpentier, which is mainly based on the leaflet motion. So in type 1 lesion, the leaflet motion is normal. The MRZ is mainly central or slightly off center. It is basically a result of the annular dilatation, and the less common causes includes mitral valve cleft, aneurysm, perforation or destruction of leaflet due to endocarditis. In type 2, the excessive leaflet motion causing the mitral valve regurgitation, the MRZ is directed away from the deceased leaflet. Here the mechanism has been described in three parts, where in bellowing or scalloping, the part of the mitral leaflet project above the annulus in systole, but the coaptation point remain below the plane of the mitral annulus. In prolapse, the excursion of a leaflet tip above the level of mitral annulus during systole, which cause the regurgitation. The flail is the mechanism where leaflet is flowing freely into the left atrium during systole as a result of one or more ruptured chorda tendineae. The basic difference between the flail and prolapse is that the tip of the leaflet is directed toward the ventricle in prolapse, while the tip is directed toward the atrium in flail. In type 3 lesion, there is a restricted leaflet motion. The MR jet is directed toward the affected leaflet, but it can be central also if both leaflets are equally involved. Type 3 is further divided into the type 3A and type 3B, where type 3A there is a restriction is because of mainly structural issue, most often rheumatic etiology. The leaflet motion is affected in both systole and diastole. In type B lesion, the restriction is mainly functional. The proper coaptation is prevented by systolic tethering of the leaflet due to dilated left ventricle and displaced papillary muscle, or individually displaced papillary muscle. Ischemic MR is a typical example of this type 3B lesion. So, if we discuss the causes of the MR, it is mainly congenital like endocardial cushion defect, myxomatous degeneration, rheumatic, endocarditis which may be bacterial or viral, cardiomyopathy like dilated myopathy, ischemic, idiopathic, ethanol cardiomyopathy, and other causes include SLE, rheumatoid arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis. Let's see the TE view for assessment of the mitral valve. So, mainly 6 standard TE view are described in literature for assessment of the mitral valve. The first one is mid-esophageal 4-chamber view, second one is mid-esophageal commissural view, third is mid-esophageal 2-chamber view, fourth is mid-esophageal aortic valve long axis view, fifth is transgastric visual short axis view, and sixth one is transgastric 2-chamber view. So, mid-esophageal 4-chamber view is obtained at 0 degree, and the main element of mitral valve that can be viewed in this view are A2 and P2 part of the mitral valve. So withdrawal or slight antefaction of probe make LVOT in the picture, which is mid-esophageal 5-chamber view. The more it will show the more anterior portion of the mitral valve like A1, A2 and P1, P2. While advancing or retroflexion of probe make the posterior part of mitral valve into picture like A2, A3 and P2, P3. Because of anatomic variation, sometimes difficult to discriminate between the A1 and P1 and P2 or between P2 and P3 using this view. Then second one is mid-esophageal mitral commissural view, which is obtained at 60 to 75 degree. Here we can see 3 parts of the anterior leaflet and posterior leaflet, P1, A2 and P3. The mobile center A2 disappearing during the diastole. The presence and severity of disease at level of the commissure can be evaluated here. Mid-esophageal 2-chamber view, which is obtained at 90 to 105 degree. This is basically orthogonal cross section of the mitral valve. Anterior mitral valve leaflet is on the right side of the display. Actually, after 90 degree, the anterior mitral valve leaflet will be seen on the right side and the posterior leaflet on the left side. So, in this view, we can see A1, A2 part of the anterior leaflet and P3 of the posterior leaflet. But if we turn the probe toward left or rightward, it will change the cross section. If we turn the probe to our right side, then we can see A2 and A3 part of the anterior leaflet and P3 of the posterior leaflet. And if we turn probe toward the left, then we see here only the posterior leaflet scallops P1, P2 and P3, but no any anterior segment. Mid-esophageal aortic valve long axis view, which is obtained at 120 to 135 degree. This view provide the reliable A2 and P2 part of this mitral valve. It cuts across the saddle shaped annular plane at its most superior aspect. It is preferred view for the assessing MVP. Then transgastric basal short axis view, which is obtained at 0 degree. The mitral valve may be shown almost N face with a complete view of a C-shaped orifice. The mitral valve is imaged from posterior. So, posterior mitral valve leaflet is closest to the probe and in the near field, and the anterior mitral valve leaflet is in the far field. It can detect the cleft and perforation in mitral valve leaflets. The color Doppler will help for exact location or exact origin of the regurgitation jets. Transgastric two chamber view, which is obtained at 90 degree. This is also orthogonal view of mitral valve in the longitudinal plane. This view is best for seeing the subvalvular apparatus, especially papillary muscles, chorda tendineae, and their insertion on the leaflet margins. The classic imaging plane described here are obtained only when the echo scan crosses through the center of the mitral valve. In mid-esophageal commissural view, turning the probe to the right will make more of the anterior leaflet, showing not only the A2 part but also A1 and A3. And turning probe to the left will reveal more of P2, not only P1 and P3. Likewise, in mid-esophageal long axis view, a well-centered scan will show A2 and P2, but slight rotation of the probe to the right will move the scan toward A3, P3, and slight rotation to the left will move the scan toward A1, P1. This relationship do not always hold true, especially when there is a rotation or distortion of the heart by chronic disease. Now, we will see the T evolution of MR. So, when we do evaluation of MR by transesophageal echocardiography, we need to answer these questions. How severe is this MR? What is the mechanism of MR, and can the valve be surgically repaired? So, how severe is the mitral valve regurgitation? So, severity of MR is classified as trivial, mild, moderate or severe. This correspond to the 1 plus, 2 plus, 3 plus and 4 plus by angiography. Basic 2D examination of heart often provide clue that significant MR may be present. This clue may be direct or indirect. The direct clue suggests large coaptation defect or structural abnormality of leaflet, or indirect clue may be hemodynamic sequel of severe MR like volume overload of the left ventricle and left atrium, or sign of the pulmonary heart hypertension like dilated and hypertrophied right ventricle, septal flattening and dilated pulmonary arteries. A detailed 2D examination is necessary for precise location for lesion. Color Doppler. It is the easiest and best method to screen for MR. It is highly sensitive and specific. It is semi-quantitative assessment for the severity of the MR. The general appearance like the size and depth of the penetration of the regurgitation jet offer a rough index of mitral valve regurgitation severity. Quantitative assessment made by color Doppler is highly dependent on setting of the echo machine like aliasing velocity, pulse radiation frequency, repetition frequency, frame rate, etc. Experienced eyeball method tend to work only in mild or severe cases. The ratio of regurgitation jet area and left atrial area correlate better with severity, and if this ratio is more than 40%, then it generally suggests severe MR. The narrowest part of the jet, which is known as vena contracta, is very helpful for diagnosis of the severe MR. If it is more than 7 mm, then we can say it is a severe MR, which is more in specificity but surprisingly at cost of decreased sensitivity. Measurement should be taken in mid-esophageal long axis view. The direction of MR jet will give clue to its etiology. Like central jet may be functional in nature, result from the annular dilatation or ventricular dysfunction, and eccentric jet almost always due to a structural abnormality of mitral apparatus itself and unlikely to improve after revascularization. The wall hugging jets always warrant a close examination. Jets that have enough energy to hug the wall of atrium for some distance should be considered hemodynamically significant until proven otherwise. Wall hugging jets are subjected to Coanda effect. This is a physical principle by which a fluid jet will get sucked against the wall, making it appear smaller by color Doppler than actually it is. Consequently, a wall hugging jet should be considered severe until proven otherwise. Spectrodoppler is also semi-quantitative assessment method. The peak velocity of regurgitant jet is mostly a function of the systolic gradient between the LV and the LA. The density of MR signal by continuous wave is proportional to the number of blood cells detected by the Doppler beam. Dense MR jet with a sharp envelope on color Doppler, continuous wave Doppler will suggest significant MR, while weaker signal with an incomplete envelope suggests smaller regurgitant fraction. Pulmonary venous flow by pulse wave Doppler, where it is very important and should be in our routine practice. Normal pulse wave Doppler pattern of pulmonary venous flow is forward in systole and diastole. Significant regurgitation of LV stroke volume in systole causing blunting or reversal of the systolic component of the pulmonary venous flow. Reliable indicator of hemodynamically significant MR. Pulmonary venous flow reversal is a specific but not sensitive method to detect mitral valve regurgitation. Means if there is a severe MR, it is not necessarily there is a reversal of pulmonary venous flow, but if there is a reversal of pulmonary venous flow, then it definitely suggests a severe MR. Absence of systolic pulmonary venous flow, blunting or reversal of this pulmonary venous flow does not rule out severe MR, like in case of chronic MR where there is a large and compliant left atrium. So, Doppler parameter will help to classify the mitral valve regurgitation like mild, moderate and severe, and it will definitely help us to categorize this MR. Individually not enough to make a diagnosis of severe MR, but taken as a group they will provide much better diagnostic accuracy. The quantitative evaluation of mitral valve, it includes regurgitant volume, regurgitant fraction and regurgitant orifice area. Regurgitant volume is the difference between the amount of the blood that enters the left ventricle in diastole and amount of the blood that exits through the aortic valve in systole. So, it is obtained by calculating the mitral valve VTI multiplied by area of mitral valve, which is minus LVOT VTI multiplied by LVOT area. Limitation of this method is mitral valve opening is oval, not round, and its surface area changes throughout the diastole. So, what we measure here by this formula is not always true. We can also use the PISA method to calculate regurgitant volume. Regurgitant fraction is a percentage of LV blood that flows backward into the left atrium in systole. Ratio of regurgitant volume over the volume that flows forward across the mitral valve in diastole. Effective regurgitant orifice area. It is calculated by PISA method. which is proximal isovelocity surface area, and PISA takes advantage of the flow dynamic of the blood as it forces into the regurgitant orifice. Approaching the orifice, the blood cells accelerate along a series of concentric hemisphere which can be visualized by color Doppler. At the aliasing velocity, means Nyquist limit, the color turns from the red to the blue, and this point provide both velocity and radius of the hemisphere. So, by this formula of we can measure the effective regurgitant orifice area. The limitation of PISA methods. PISA method is based on a number of assumptions. It assumes that orifice is round, which may not be the case. Estimation of cross sectional area as 2 pi r square assume that the PISA cells are true hemisphere, not cone or flattened cells. Though many studies have suggested that if the radius of the hemisphere is around 10 to 15, then the cell will be more like hemisphere, true hemisphere. Since it is a measure at one frame in mid systole, it may not be valid in the dynamic MR such as prolapse or severe airway dysfunction. Nyquist limit and color baseline should be adjusted according to minimize error. So, we should keep the Nyquist limit around 40 centimeter per second to calculate through the PISA method. Also, for eccentric jet, an angle correction must be used. Regurgitant volume, regurgitant fraction and regurgitant area are time consuming measurements, not always be practical in busy setting of operating room, not always be required in mild or severe cases, but definitely it is more important in borderline cases, and they are important research tools. So, pitfalls in the evaluation of mitral regurgitation includes patient with mitral valve disease have dilated heart and distorted cardiac anatomy. It makes TE examination challenging because it changes the appearance of the various TE cross section of mitral valve. Changes in preload, afterload and myocardial contractility and compliance can have profound impact on appearance of MR. General anesthesia is itself confounding factor for assessment of MR intraoperatively. Due to general anesthesia, MR can decrease at least one grade, and it is these changes is least pronounced in flail mitral valve, but most significant in patient with functional MR. The effect of GA can be reversed in most cases with phenylephrine, and presence of other valvular lesion also affect MR. Now, I would like to discuss functional MR also briefly. So, basically it falls in Carpenter type 3B category, and absence of structural abnormality of mitral leaflet, but some form of annular dilatation can be present. Most common cause of functional MR is ischemic cardiomyopathy, usually following the infero-posterior myocardial infarction, and other form of dilated cardiomyopathy can also result in MR. Mechanism of functional MR is multifactorial, but at the source functional MR is ventricular disease, and the patient's prognosis after surgery will depend on progression or regression of the LV dysfunction. Factors that contribute to the functional MR include regional wall motion abnormality and dilatation, which causes changes in LV geometry, increased sphericity of left ventricle, which in turn increase interpapillary distance and change in the papillary muscle orientation relative to the leaflet. This result in the tethering of the mitral leaflet and ultimately leads to failure of the coaptation and MR. Annular dilatation, which mostly happen in the anteroposterior diameter, and finally if ventricular function is depressed, it leads to decrease in the closing force of the mitral leaflet during systole. So, the best time to assess functional MR is preoperatively. If we assess functional MR intraoperatively, we have to rule out any structural cause for the MR like prolapse of the leaflet. We have to see mitral leaflet for tethering or other restriction to the valve closure, mitral annulus diameter, papillary muscle location, and the wall motion in area supporting the papillary muscles. We have to see overall LV size and shape. We have to measure tethering distance and the tethering surface area, which is also known as a tenting distance and tenting surface area, which is index for the severity of the tethering. So, American Heart Association and American Society of Echocardiography has classified MR into the mild, moderate and severe category according to the different method, which include qualitative method, semi-quantitative and quantitative methods. The qualitative methods include color flow jet area, flow convergence, continuous wave Doppler signal strength. Semi-quantitative method include vena contracta width, pulmonary venous Doppler, mitral inflow, and quantitative method include effective regurgitation orifice area, regurgitant volume and regurgitant fraction. The important point here, when we measure this during color Doppler, we have to keep the Nyquist velocity at 50 to 70 centimeter per second, and during the PISA method we have to keep the color gain at 40 centimeter per second. Now let's have a look in 3D echocardiography. So 3D echo is available for almost 2 decades, but recently matrix technology has made it possible to fit a 3D transducer in the tip of a TE probe and to generate real-time 3D TE images. The mitral valve is particularly well suited to the 3D imaging, and 3-dimensional end-phase view of the mitral valve arguably win the prize for the prettiest image in all of echocardiography. 3D images are more intuitively obvious than 2D images, and they may facilitate communication with the surgical team. Infinite number of perspective of mitral valve we can find through 3D TE, and it can provide information that is unavailable with 2D echo. End-phase views can be obtained from the LA perspective, which is known as the surgeon's view, and from the LV perspective. While the LA view shows the surgeon exactly what to expect at the time of the atriotomy, and the LV perspective provide a rare opportunity to show the surgeon a vantage point that cannot be obtained with the open heart. Another 3D modality called multiplane reconstruction means MPR allows the simultaneous visualization of 3 2D orthogonal plane of the mitral valve. Color flow Doppler can also be applied to 3D echography, and which allows precise 3D determination of the location, size and direction of the mitral regurgitation jet. MPR of 3D color flow Doppler images make it is possible to analyze an MR jet like any other 3D structure. The jet can be cut in any axis, allowing volumetric measurement. A recent study suggests that 3D TE can estimate mitral regurgitation volume within 1.2% of the gold standard cardiac MRI. The multiplane reconstruction provides another opportunity for a quantitative analysis of MR. It can provide the perfect cross-sectional view of the vena contracta, which allows planimetry of its surface area. But 3D TE has also some limitation, like good 2D images are primarily necessity for making 3D TE views. Processing of huge amount of information by computer leads to the lower frame rate, which can result into the jerky images. The new set of artifacts and pitfalls which operator must become familiar with. Pretty pictures do not guarantee a more accurate diagnosis. 3D analysis techniques are relatively complex to learn, and they take time to perform also, sometimes impractical in busy OR. So, in conclusion, the T is very essential tool for assessment of MR intraoperatively, and what we have to see while we assess the MR and what we have to tell the surgeon about the MR. So, pre-CPB we have to see for mechanism of MR, leaflet pathology, annular size and mitral annular calcification. direction and severity of MRZ, pulmonary vein flow, LA-LV size and function, and post CPB we have to assess again, and we have to see post repair mitral leaflet morphology, prosthetic valve function, residual MR, impaired mitral valve inflow, like if there is any stenosis had happened during the mitral valve repair, complications of repair like SAM, posterior wall, AV groove separation, and aortic valve non-coronary cusp trauma, LV and RV function, and severity of TR. So, this is all about the transesophageal echocardiography for evaluation of mitral valve regurgitation. Thank you for your attention.